rehearsing from the top and action.
So Mark, let's take you back 35 years to Templeton's Business Centre. How did you get a job?
Well, basically, I'd done a degree in Sackville University in Business and Economics, and I was probably the most failed businessman or business student of the year. So I decided to go off travelling, came back, enjoyed photography when I was travelling, thought I was quite good at it, and I thought that I'd want to do something with photography. A friend of my dad's had started up his own company at the time because these cameras were coming out. This was the way forward, so we were getting the first generation of lightweight portable video cameras, and he was doing corporate video stuff. So worked with him for a couple of days doing a timeshare corporate. Then one of my cousins was married to a Gaelic folk singer. He had his own programme on STV, Donny McLeod. I don't know if you remember him, DIY Donny.
Yeah,
so I went along there, and on the back auspices of just basically chatting to the camera crew. They said they didn't have any jobs because it was a very restricted practice industry at the time. You had to be a member of the union, you had to get a unrestricted ACTT union card. But they said there was a guy called Chris Atkins that was a former cameraman at STV who'd started up his own company. Yeah. So I thought, well, okay then, let's find him out and search him out, which I did. And he says, unfortunately, no, we're just a small outfit. Haven't got any capacity for anybody else. So yeah, that seemed to be a dead end. But he phoned me up a couple of days later saying, have you got a car and can you drive? And I said, aye. He says, can you drive to a ski resort, Glen Shee? And I said, aye. And he says, well, okay, then you're in. And so we did that, and because I could ski, I was kind of like, able to.
Put it this way, I know Chris can't ski, so.
So de facto, I was the person that was helping out an awful lot, and thereafter I got a job, working at the bottom, literally, like yourself, with flashback video. Yeah.
And obviously, you got to a stage where you decided you wanted to go to somewhere like Yorkshire, was it?
Well, it wasn't a case of somewhere. Is that
to get a bit more experience.
Well, I mean, to get one of the prime jobs in television that you could do. I mean, at that time, working for one of the network ITV companies was your dream ticket. So I just had a climbing accident actually just about 6 weeks beforehand, but I saw the advert in the Beck 2 magazine. Well, it wasn't Beck 2 as it was then, whatever unit it was called then.
Probably
and it's
ACTT?
Might have been, yeah. Probably was. And they said, looking for a trainee cameraman, camera operator for the studios. Must be under 23. I just turned 23, so I thought I might be excluded. But I was actually had crutches and plaster on my leg. So took the train down to Leeds, did the interview, left the crutches at left luggage, so it didn't appear as if somebody was walking through that couldn't walk. Yep. And got the train back up. And it went kind of well, but the next morning there must have been that acceptance for the job. The trainee job was probably on the same train as me coming back home to Glasgow. So yeah, that was it. 1984, I started at Yorkshire TV as a trainee for the studio.
And how many years did that take?
Well, it's peculiar really. I started in August 1984. We had a union dispute in about October, so they decided they need extra bodies, so they decided to pump me up to an actual cameraman after 3 months.
3 months, wow.
So, but more, for the purposes of management able to get round the strike action, which I was, I felt a bit, between a rock and a hard place. But yes, started there. It's a long old apprenticeship because you do a lot of hauling the cables, and we were doing like programs like 321.
Did you do some did you meet some interesting cameramen at Yorkshire?
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess I'm going to have to pay homage to probably 3 cameramen that were instrumental in my career. One was Jerry Lord, the other was Stuart Hinchcliffe, and the other was Doug Neal. Doug Neal died very young, about 43, but they really took an interest in me, and that's why I take an interest in young cameramen now, not in that way, but because they really made the effort to train you, and it was good cop, bad cop. Jerry Lord was a great man that always injected a sense of humour into situations where television can get fraught. People are just on the edge of blowing, but he always had that little glib comment that just took the atmosphere back to what it really should be. You know, TV should be fun.
Yeah.
Stuart Hinchcliffe was a great technician, as was Doug Neal, and those three guys taught me an awful lot that I still use every day.
What programs did you film?
Well, I mean, I started off with, like I say, in the studio, so we were doing things like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we were doing like 3, 2, 1, Dusty Bin, you know, and maybe we'd be doing a sitcom Thursday, Friday, so we'd be doing things like, you know, Rising Damp, Duty Free, you know, Room at the Bottom, all the big hitters of the 80s, really, the sitcoms of the 80s. And then I went out, I was the first person, because there was two shops then. There was the film shop and the electronic shop. I worked for the electronic shop, but they wanted to amalgamate them. So I was the first person that went across to the film shop and started as a clapper loader, focus puller.
Wow.
In the mid 80s, and we started doing American co-productions with a lot of big actors, you know, Rod Steiger, you know, Twiggy, Edward Frost. I'm just trying to roll call back, you know, 30 years. But, you know, a lot of big hitters. Charles Dance had just come out. He'd just done White Mischief. We did a film with him. And it was great. So I worked my way up from a focus puller to from a clapper loader, to a focus puller. But it was dead men's shoes anywhere after that. So I said, I've got to go back to the electronic shop if I want to operate. So I went back to the electronic shop and became a cameraman that worked on Emmerdale principally. That was where I cut my teeth. And then went on to Heartbeat, which I think for the best part of 12 years I was the senior camera operator on Heartbeat, and it was great days. And it was, you know, we had all the toys. So
what brings you back to Glasgow and to, in this case, River City?
Well, you know, it probably goes back to the 2008 crash, because in 2008 I was by then a director, that was a staff director. That worked for Yorkshire TV. 2008 came, and the people that ran ITV, Charles Allen, were so dependent on advertising. The first thing that goes pop in a financial crash is people stop advertising. So Yorkshire TV couldn't pay the wage bill for the next month, made 200, half the workforce redundant. And I could have stayed on as a cameraman, but I was a director at the time, so I thought I'd take my chance, carry on freelance directing. And the reason why I came back to Glasgow is because I found work on River City. And I went back to camera work, which I think, you know, always is, you know, you always need a technician, you always need a grunt in the front line. Directing is a bit like being a football manager. You know, you've got a lifespan of a football manager in this industry. Anybody could call the director, but at the end of the day, when you're a cameraman, you've got to kind of deliver the goods because everybody can see it. So I came back here, loved Glasgow, loved coming back. I was 25 years down in Yorkshire. I enjoyed my experience there, but, you know, I think Glasgow is my home, you know, and whilst I'll still dip my toes and work in England, I still want to be based here.
See, it seems like a long, hard day, this type of camera work.
Oh yeah, it's a 10-hour day minimum, and, you know, a lot of time you're on your feet, you know, it's, that's TV for you, you know. And do you enjoy using the cameras, like the 500s? 500 is a great camera. I'm not too convinced about the lens we use. They're a bit tired, a bit old, and a bit, you know, everything's a compromise in television. We all know that. Sound, you know, whatever it is, it's always a compromise. And the lenses we use aren't really up to scratch, but the camera's great.
The River City set is built on the site of old whisky warehouses in Dumbarton. Shield Inch is actually a set consisting of 4 tenement blocks, a pub, shops and a boatyard. It is based on a number of different places in and around the West End of Glasgow. It was created especially for the show and took 8 months to build. As you can see, the exterior was built for filming only, as inside each tenement consists of wooden strapping. I then asked Mark about his frightening time when he was in Nepal during 2015 when a major earthquake struck.
So I went to Nepal in 2015. I had a dog that was a great mountaineer, and I always said to her she was the incarnation of a mountain guide. So I says, right, you and I are taking one last trip together. So I was going to take her Ashes to Everest Base Camp. That was a plan, but obviously she had something else in mind. And I was there, you know, a day short or 2 days short of Everest Base Camp when the the Nepal earthquake in 2015, April 2015 happened, and it's a funny thing, you know, when you get to a situation where you think you are going to die.
So you thought you were going to die then?
Literally, you know, like I'm sat here with you just now, and you know, you would have been my porter, and we just didn't think we were just going to spend the day on Facebook reading. Right. I was recuperating because I had a chest infection, and suddenly everything started shaking. The wall started shaking, the pictures fell down, and it became some kind of like fairground attraction. You know, when you stand on that fairground attraction when the floor moves, and the floor was moving about 8-10 feet. We ran out of the tea lodge we were in and looked down at the village, and there was just people screaming, running out into the fields. They hadn't a clue what was happening either. And I thought, the Chinese bombing us? Because all the houses started to disintegrate and turn to dust. And I thought, nah, it's not the Chinese. And then we realised very quickly that it was the earthquake. And it's a real game changer, that, when you think, actually, I'm going to die now. And I thought, well, I'll sort of be screaming and shouting and teary-eyed, but I was kind of very stoic, and I was going, oh, I wonder how painful it's going to be. Just going back to my documentary years, I thought, well, let's get the camera out, let's record all this. You know, let's distract yourself by recording, you know, a lifetime event.
So was it digital or
film? It was digital. It was the digital version of the original camera I had when I started my photography back in the 70s, which is the OM10.
All right, perfect.
And it's a great little camera. It's small. It looks, you know, it is a retro camera, and it's great because you can have it in your pocket. You know, you can stick prime lenses on it if you want. You can stick a zoom on it. So it's a tool for a documentary cameraman. It's great. And after about a week, we did make our way down to Lukla Airport to try and get a flight back to, well, hopefully Kathmandu, although flights were going out and we won't quite know where they were going to. Yeah. And so we spent a good day just waiting at Lukla Airport, and I thought, well, let's take photographs of this. Because everybody was there. There was multi-religional, there was Jewish parties, there was Indians, there was Chinese, there were Europeans, there were Americans, and they all had this one thing on their mind, is whether they were going to survive or not.
Yeah, of course.
And so I thought, well, let's just capture this. And so I spent 8 hours just sitting, you know, in a concealed space, just taking photographs of people in Lukla Airport. And yeah, it's you know, some of the folks' photographs have been well commended in the photojournalism internet blogs, and I'm very proud of them.
Because I remember, that was only 2 years ago.
2 years ago, almost 2 weeks ago, was the first one.
I remember seeing your Facebook page, and I couldn't believe what was happening.
Yeah, well, you know, the thing about Nepal is they're not shy about putting mobile phones up, phone masts up, and so they'll go up anywhere. So they were still intact after the earthquake, and I think I got, on Facebook, I got the first message that the earthquake had happened even before the BBC News managed to break it.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, interesting times.
Absolutely.
And you know, I spent a lot of time out there, you know, helping people. You know, the place where we stayed, we dismantled his Buddhist temple in his house because he thought it might get destroyed in the next week. So we were part and parcel of those people's lives, and it's continued now. My porter, his son, Lucky Suman, we call him. He's called Suman. We're putting him through school in Namche now as part of the myself and Angeline, who went with me. We've set up a charity campaign to help the people of the Kumjong Valley. Fantastic. And he's going to boarding school in Namche.
Wow. And what about the future? What does that hold for you, Mark?
Probably a care home.
No, I don't mean that.
In terms of, I mean, I'd like to carry on. I love doing camera work. I think, you know, everybody that's been a director or a producer that's worked their way up from cameras, we'll always look back and said, look, you know what, the best days of our life was in cameras. You get a slice of the, you know, the creativity. You're involved in creating things on set. You know, you're a part of, you know, working with the director and actors. But at 7 o'clock, when you put the headphones off, you go home. You don't carry the stress of the previous day back onto the next day.
Our ex-boss Chris just stopped running a guest house in Arran.
Yeah.
Is that something that appeals to you? That's sort of like...
I'd like to think, yeah, I could do something like that. I'm not sure how my guests would feel about it. You know, maybe my standards of living, as my sister points out, is not necessarily what the guests would expect. I wouldn't be expecting to get a 5-star review in TripAdvisor, put it that way. But I'll be dog friendly and just basically friendly.
That's
But
what
it's you know, something I've thought about. Yeah.